Hello, this is Reed Durbin. I'm an EDS student at Kennesaw State University in the Instructional Technology program. This narrated slideshow represents a big chunk of my life over the last 9 months. So let's get started. I drafted the initial proposal and began the framing of my research project in the fall semester of 2014. I had a lot of trouble picking a topic, but after weeks of delay, I finally selected a topic I thought would be relevant and interesting. Well, that's how it felt anyway. So I decided to look at social networking in education, but as I began to narrow the topic, I decided to create a piece that might be useful to my county. So I came up with the idea of looking at my county schools and identifying the ways that teachers were using social networking with their students. Of course, I couldn't name my county in my research study for purposes of confidentiality. I wanted to know if and how teachers were using social networking to connect their students to learning within their content or their coaching areas. Specifically, I wanted to know, how are teachers using social networking with their students? How has social networking impacted the teachers' professional lives? How have students responded to the use of social networking? And finally, what are the challenges and opportunities of using social networking? As I began the search for literature, I found two major problems. First, most of the literature deals with post-secondary settings or didn't deal with American students at all. The second problem were that rapid changes in technology made social networking literature obsolete. Still, I found three important topics revealed in my literature review. First, the critical role of the teacher. It's not a big surprise that energetic teachers who use social networking have better results than reluctant users. Second, the impact on student performance. Was communication made easier, or was it just another task to manage? And finally, the benefits and challenges to social networking in education. What constitutes safe and effective use? How do teachers handle privacy issues? So I found some really good articles, but not enough. And I'll cover this problem a little bit later. Next, I had to figure out how I wanted my research to proceed. I began to think about developing a study designed for action research, but I felt limited at that prospect. But then I found a qualitative methodology that sounded promising: grounded action theory. Grounded action theory is a qualitative method that brings together grounded theory and action research to suggest policy changes to decision makers. I achieved triangulation first by my initial interest in social networking in classrooms. The next phase was completed by using my literature review, and this was followed by the core of grounded action theory, which is interviews. After obtaining permission from my county, I sent out an email soliciting teachers from our 5 county high schools. Some people responded quickly, but others need to be asked. Ultimately, I ended up with 7 teachers who represented a wide spectrum of age and experience. However, they did not represent any ethnic diversity since they were all Caucasian, and one high school didn't respond at all. So my interviews began, and they kept me pretty busy through the month of April and May. Still, they did provide insight, and I enjoyed discussing social networking with teachers. After holding follow-up interviews and coding these to identify themes, here are my initial discoveries. Teachers are using a wide variety of platforms and have many uses for social networking with their students. Safety, privacy, and digital citizenship are primary concerns of all the teachers. Efficiency and efficacy of student work was important. And teachers reported enhanced engagement and student responsibility through the use of social networking. I found that teachers were using a pretty wide array of social networking systems to engage with their students. 2 technology teachers who have lab environments for their students use Schoology as their everyday platform. However, the other teachers use Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest for their interactions. Most of the teachers reported using 2 of these platforms with their students. I also found that teachers had a variety of uses for social networking. All of the teachers were using social networking to notify and remind students and parents of upcoming assignments or events. Some reported that they used social networking for collaboration with peers and colleagues to exchange ideas and resources. A few used social networking to promote their athletic, drama, or chorus events. But only 2 of our subjects used social networking on a daily basis with their students for classroom activities. In terms of safe and ethical use of social networking, this was a major concern for every teacher who responded. Both of the teachers in the computer lab said that they teach the proper use of digital communication to their students. However, for everyone else, the concern was clearly privacy from their students. One teacher reported their students used any flaw or omission in communication as a way to argue over assigned work. Another discussed time constraints in managing different platforms. Yet another teacher admitted that she sometimes left her phone in the car to avoid the temptation of accessing her social networking sites since they're blocked on the school computers. All were adamant that schools need to make social networking easier for their students. One teacher put it this way: the school system should be teaching about it, social networking, and not blocking it as if it's only bad. I also found that the impact on student performance was great for these users of social networking. All reported better completion of assignments, and they increased communication with parents. They also reported a higher degree of responsibility towards work and performances or their athletic events. And all teachers reported that students found social networking to be an easy fit for what one teacher termed this electric generation. All the respondents also reported that engagement and student responsibility was greatly increased with social networking. So here's what I discovered and what I recommended to my county. Most teachers are familiar with social networking sites, having used them in their personal lives prior to their professional endeavors. However, few teachers are actually using social networking in educational settings. I contacted potentially about 500 teachers. I only got 8 replies. One person wasn't really using social networking, but that figures out to be about 1.4% of teachers in the county that responded. Of my 7 teachers, only 2 were actually using it with students for assigned work and communicating on a day-to-day basis. Concern for digital citizenship, netiquette, and preparation was critical to effective use of social networking. Being enthusiastic in its use and having high expectation convinces students of its effectiveness. Protection of personal boundaries and respecting time are of the highest priority for teachers. And finally, access to computers is an ongoing limitation to widespread use. The advantages of social networking outweigh the potential challenges. Students and teachers appreciate increased avenues of communication. Teachers who use it for assignments praise the student accountability built into completing the work. And it makes parent notification easier and makes parents more supportive and attentive of the activities of their children. I propose that the district invest in a learning management system with social networking capabilities. This one system would cut confusion, have a grade book so parents only had one system to manage, greatly decrease chances for violations of privacy or school policy, and allow for collaboration with others, teachers and students alike. I recommended Schoology because it was perceived to be very functional and the teachers liked it best. And here's what I learned from completing my research project. My literature review was simply too light. I had about 20 serious works, but if I had extended my search into learning management systems, I probably would have received a lot more relevant research materials. My follow-up interviews were rushed and did not yield much additional insights. The time for the project was simply too tight to really focus on this aspect of my project. My grasp of coding was weak, and that made it difficult to be as systematic or precise as it should have been. And finally, again because of hurrying to complete the assignment, there were some minor, though persistent problems with my command of APA. Careful proofreading might have caught these errors. On the other hand, some valuable things were completed in the study. In spite of a limited response from teachers, I do think I got a peek into a very small use of social networking in schools. And there are many reasons for this limited use, and I felt that a lot of this was connected to challenges faced by teachers. Most of these challenges involved either time, access, or privacy concerns. So these were accounted for and managed by these very effective teachers. I made a very strong case for the adoption of a unified learning management system. In conducting my research, I met with and discussed social networking with my district's technology coordinator. In the course of that interview, he indicated that the county was looking into purchasing access to a new learning management system for teachers. My recommendation is to do so using Schoology, which was determined by most teachers to be the best unified system available. Schoology offers reminder features and social networking to encourage and facilitate communication. Schoology offers a secure platform to teachers for collaboration with peers. I don't know if my paper will have any impact with that decision of my district, but I hope it will. And finally, I learned a great deal about research methods and protocols, enough to know that I need more time to do a complete and thorough investigation. And I've learned a new respect for people who engage in this type of research with enthusiasm. So, that's my project. I hope you enjoyed it a little bit, and I hope that you learned something along the way. Thanks.